Well, good morning on this hump day. This is Pete Najarian. This is The Take for Market Rebellion. And wow, again, I have to go back and say we continue to see really interesting markets. We're watching volatility as it's coming down. Now we're at the lowest level since way back into February. So there's a lot going on in the markets, and it's not just the Power Five. There are so many other parts of the market that are absolutely fueling things. But looking back to yesterday, let's just take a quick look back. We started off the day a little bit weaker. And some of that certainly pushing down was Microsoft pulling back a little bit. We had Merck pulling back a little bit. Those are two names that had led recently to the upside. Real big spike out of Merck just a couple of days ago. So that definitely stood out. But though there was a little bit of weakness there. However, where did we find a little bit of strength in the markets? Well, Boeing, McDonald's, Exxon, Chevron, all those kind of names. And it just started to just kind of catch up just a little bit and having some little gains and just some movement in the markets. But then, wow, the theme is back. And that's what I think really stood out for yesterday was just the incredible movement that we were seeing in the markets and the theme that we were seeing in the markets, the surge that we'd seen late in the day. As a matter of fact, you look at that last hour or so, you look at the Dow up about 150 points just in the final hour of the day. Just an absolutely amazing run to the upside. But maybe even a bigger surprise was the big turnaround that we'd seen out of the NASDAQ, because the NASDAQ really turned and burned and actually gained about 100 points in the final hour, getting itself back into positive territory and finishing up about 38 points on the day. Now, the semiconductors, they were strong throughout the day. We had NVIDIA, we had AMD, we had Micron, all these various names that were definitely powering the markets to the upside. When you look at what was really fueling the NASDAQ, at least holding the NASDAQ up and then started to make the turn for the NASDAQ, was AMD. You had the airlines. You had names like Take-Two Interactive, which had a great day with their earnings. Costco also powering the market. So really just a really interesting day. And again, the theme holding up that final hour or two of the day where we see that big explosive move to the upside. By the way, explosive moves. How about the 27 million contracts that we traded yesterday? We've been talking about how we've been pulling back a little bit. And yes, we did have a nice big spike the other day. We were over 33 million just to finish up July, but 27 million contracts. Wow. That's starting to get back up there where we're starting to feel more confident and stronger about what we're seeing in terms of the volumes and the spread of these volumes. However, I will give you the top three yesterday just because it is extraordinary to see some of these names in terms of what their normal volumes are and where they actually performed yesterday. So AMD, that was the number one performer of the equities yesterday. As a matter of fact, a little over 1 million contracts trading there. Apple, about 850,000 contracts. Microsoft, about 650,000 contracts. So really active day, and specific names certainly seeing a lot of volumes, but a nice spread of after those top 3, 4, or 5 names, a nice spread in terms of just a huge swath of different areas of the marketplace that we're seeing all kinds of different volumes. So early indicators for today, certainly seen some of those indications looking for a strong open, and that was wavering around from anywhere between up about 140 points to up about 200 points. Well, market did finally open on the opening bell. We are right around 175, so we kind of split the middle there. NASDAQ up a little bit, but not nearly as much early on, about 24 points. But what was really pushing the markets, an absolutely extraordinary move and a surprising, I think, for many people, obviously a surprise because of the move that we were seeing, but Disney. Now, Disney, the expectations were very low. We did see incredible option activity over the last couple of sessions where we'd seen very bullish buying upside. I was questioning it myself a little bit because they were staying short term, but they were buying just significant upside. Well, that's starting to pay off today because that stock was up 6% early. Last I looked, it was up about a little over 9% as well, leading the Dow, of course. Then you have Boeing, then you have Dow. And I'll tell you what's really moving the markets now, we were up 175, now we're up almost 275. So early in the day, we're barely a half hour into the day. I wanted to get up early, get this up early so that everybody could see what was going on, where we were seeing it. But I'll tell you what, the industrials, you take a look at 3M. And we heard earlier today in terms of some of the analysts out there, and I think Tusa is one of the very best, and he was talking about some of the positives about 3M. Well, that's certainly ringing true for a lot of people because there's certainly some buying going into that name as well. But the industrials, definitely Dow moving higher. I'll tell you what's really moving higher. we talk about gold and we talk about silver and the moves that they have made, and oil, how it has paused, crude, where it's paused, the WTI. Not pausing today. The API numbers out and the crude's up about 43 and a half right now. It had been hanging around 40, 41. Here we are in the 43s. Really, really a nice, powerful move. Gold, really incredible. I'll tell you what, the move in gold, and we had Bill Fleckenstein on the other day on our roundtable on Monday, and he was very, very bullish on gold and silver, and he wasn't putting any sort of prices, he wasn't putting any time frames, but just very, very bullish. Well, I'll tell you, gold today, it's up over 2050. Look over at silver, it's up over 27. So a nice, powerful move to the upside. And as I mentioned, volatility, now we're in the 23s. It's just pretty amazing. The low 23s, as a matter of fact, down almost 2% on the day. So what's really powering the markets, as I said, we talked about crude. How about the XLE? How about the OIH? When you look for the areas of the market where you're going to get the best beta in energy, you look over at the OIH, the services names, and that beta, that was up about 2.5%, might be up even a little bit higher now. Energy itself, the XLE, was pushing towards up about 2% as well. We talked about Exxon, we talked about Chevron in terms of the Dow and the influence they've got there, certainly shifting and moving things to the upside. But another area where we're seeing some great movement, how about these financials? Now, more and more news about Warren Buffett and what he's been doing, and specifically Bank of America, but some huge buying by Buffett recently, and maybe that's giving folks a little bit more comfort about the financials. We'll see. We all know that there's been many, many head fakes for the financials. We've all taken those head fakes many times, only to be disappointed, but we are seeing the oracles out there, and he continues to be a big, big buyer, so that's something. Now, a quiet start for a couple of names, considering the fact that we're up 270 points right now, up 40 points on the NASDAQ, but a quiet start early on. Microsoft, kind of quiet. Apple, a little bit quiet. Facebook, Amazon, Google, Tesla. And everybody always says these are the names that are the absolute backbone of the market. Now, they certainly do take up a big portion of the S&P with about 20%. But that being said, we bring it up all the time, and the broadness of the moves in the market are overlooked far too often, in my opinion. So where are we seeing some big spikes today? Monster Beverage, looking really, really strong today. I believe that's a new high. Disney, Freeport-McMoRan, Kohl's, Mosaic, another day two of Mosaic moving to the upside. PayPal just continues to fly to the upside. Now it's well over 200. So the movement that we are seeing in a lot of the other names, the names that don't get as much coverage oftentimes as the Power 4 or 5, but certainly names that I think are parts of the market that need to be exposed more to people so they can understand the broadness of the market. I talk about oftentimes where it can be days where we're seeing the biotechs absolutely participating. Some days it's the semiconductors absolutely participating. We've seen some of those names. I talked about the SMH hitting new highs. So we really are seeing a big, broader swipe than we are in terms of just the specific names that people oftentimes are bringing up. Now, got some really interesting, unusual option activity for you today. Now, it's not Nikolai, it's not Tesla, but it's Workhorse. Now, Workhorse, pretty interesting. So we've seen a little bit of activity here lately. So we're talking about electrical vehicles and aircraft as well. Really interesting company. Early stages, obviously. And so it's something that you just really do wonder. But we are seeing unusual option activity that started recently. We had it on July 29th. We had it on the 3rd. Now we're seeing option activity again today. And what are we seeing today? So this is the third time, and they're all buying August over that July number. They were looking at August. The Monday's number, they're looking at August. And now August once again. Really short term, though. These expire on Friday, August 7th. So just be aware of that as well. But the 19 strike calls, they were buying 17s before. Now they're buying the 19 strike calls that expire this Friday. They're going for around 50 cents, somewhere in that range. Stock was trading around 17.50 at the time that we'd seen this unusual option activity. We are already seeing in the very early stages of today an amazing number of unusual option activity. As a matter of fact, we're seeing a little bit of Microsoft. I talked about it pausing a little bit relative to what we've normally been seeing in terms of leaderships. Well, I'll tell you what, early option activity there as well. Early option activity in multiple names. But I thought of the names so far, this one from a risk reward and from an interest standpoint, I think this Workhorse, WKHS is the symbol there. Really just kind of interesting to see this. Now, it's not huge, but it's good size paper that we're seeing being bought there. And it's unique because it's a name that we don't talk about. We haven't had an opportunity to talk about it very much. But 3 different times we've seen this just in a very short period of time. That says a lot about what kind of activity people are expecting. They're already seeing some movement from what they were buying earlier, now going up a little bit higher with these 19 strike calls that do expire very, very rapidly. Knowledge is king. Guys, get your knowledge in the derivatives world. This is the place to be in the markets right now. You've got leverage and you have risk qualities where you have risk reward, where you actually understand, once you are educated, you understand where your risks do lie. And that's something where I'm really, really proud of all the guys that educate over at Market Rebellion. Have a great day of trading.